So I'm always glad to be here at the People's Poetry Festival. Again, like PW, it's one of my favorite festivals that I attend, and I'm always delighted to meet such wonderful people here. So thanks for the invitation. Thanks, Tom, and the folks who make this happen. So as I was planning the poems to read today, I was watching, have the news on in the background, and of course we all know what's happening in Ukraine, and my heart is very much with the people of Ukraine. And when we got the news of the invasion, the first thing that came to my mind was this poem by William Butler Yeats. So I thought I would share that with you all today. It's called The Second Coming, and it just seems to really fit. The Second Coming. Turning and turning in the widening gyre, the falcon cannot hear the falconer. Things fall apart, the center cannot hold. Mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. The blood-dim tide is loosed, and everywhere the ceremony of innocence is drowned. The best lack all conviction, while the worst are filled with passionate intensity. Surely some revelation is at hand. Surely the second coming is at hand. The second coming. Hardly are those words out when a vast image of Spiritus Mundi troubles my sight. Somewhere in the sands of the desert, a shape with a lion's body and the head of a man, a gaze blank and piteous as the sun, is moving its slow thighs, while all about it reel in the indignant desert birds. The darkness drops again, but I know that 20 centuries of stony sleep were vexed to nightmare by a rocking cradle. And what rough beast is the hour come at last, slouches towards Bethlehem to be born? So what I think makes this poem just feel so relevant today, Yeats, as he was writing that poem, his wife was suffering from the flu pandemic in the 1918s, so maybe much of what we're going through now was on his mind. And also, of course, World War I was much on his mind. And he was writing about the conflict that he saw in his own country, in Ireland. Turning and turning in the widening gyre, the falcon cannot hear the falconer. I just keep thinking of that image again and again. But today we're talking about uncensored poetry, and there's some real crap happening here in Texas in terms of censorship and writing. Another piece of current event news: our lieutenant governor has declared that he wants to end tenure over professors teaching critical race theory, which is really, absurd and stupid and just ridiculous. And we're, banning books from classrooms, books that, I teach and have taught for decades now. The Color Purple is just an amazing book, and I can't imagine, not being able to introduce that to students. I read that in high school, and I think I came out okay, right? So what the hell, right? So a lot of the poems I think I don't typically write poetry that I think would be like censored poetry, but I do think that it's important to touch on these big issues of our country and its beauty and its flaws that we have in our culture of racism, of sexism, and of homophobia, and that absolutely literature is the place where we explore these ideas, and to not be able to do that in the university classroom or the K-12 classroom, I fear of what would happen to our youth in the future. So this poem it's titled For My Brother. For anyone who says that racism doesn't exist in our country anymore, just isn't, looking deeply enough, I guess. So this is, I guess, a little bit of my response to that. For my brother. My little brother was afraid of darkness. A plug-in nightlight kept his fear at bay. My little brother was a white-skinned boy who blazed and blistered in the Texas sun, who had a sweet tooth chase the ice cream truck, who slugged a couple cans of Mountain Dew each day, a game controller in his hands. My brother with his always stinky socks, my brother with his cotton-colored hair, my brother with a face that's rubescent. And I'm grateful that he had a chance to grow out of his T-Rex sandals and exchange them for a leather pair of Harley boots and the angry scowl on his face. And tonight I'm sitting by a lambent campfire, wondering where he is in this great world. I think of him each time a flare stack blooms, or I strike a match, or see a tiki torch catching fire in Charlottesville, my brother. And tonight I mourn the man that he became in the dark nights of his fear, the men at his side, each one once a boy like him with night lights glowing in their bedrooms. And tonight I mourn the hate that blisters skin, the spit that flies from mouths, the fire pit within the burning belly of their being. My brother, white and fragile like a lamb, trembling in his race car bed, he asks me one more time to read him a bedtime story. Before I flick the switch and darkness fills his room, his sky blue eyes, his raging heart. I wipe my brother's tears and kiss his forehead. And then he's gone, my little brother gone, chasing fires like nightlights in the sky. This next poem I'm going to read is an ode to mayonnaise. You are my shame, the glob of whiteness slathered between brioche and arugula, the slick of fat that glides across the teeth, the alabaster jiggle of the thighs. Mayo, flavor of my childhood, in a small rural town where everyone has the skin the color of your glossy dollop. And I must confess, you are a part of me, though I pretend to savor other flavors, like Dijon or sriracha picante. Deep down, you are the condiment I crave for the comfort of the mouthfeel on my tongue. And I can't deny myself the creaminess, the spoiled taste of privilege that I eat, slipped secretly between two hunks of bread. Mayonnaise, ambrosia in a tub, heaping scoops of white potato salad, that little extra something in the dip that makes it taste like some miracle of my own creation. And I need you, but I know you're made of nothing good for the body, spirit, or the soul. Mayonnaise, you are my secret weapon. You are my ignorance, you are my whiteness. You are the glossy cloak I wear, the yoke that hinges me to history, the sins of our ancestors, the ones who gave me an appetite for mayonnaise. It's not good for you. Stay away from that stuff. This poem is called The Day I Drove a Pickup Truck in Houston. It's not like me, but Alamo was out of compact cars, sedans, and even coupes. We'll give you this one for the same price, miss, the agent says and offers me the keys. The pickup truck awaits me like a steed in the lot, and I climb into the cab. I raise the seat to see above the dash. I scoot and stretch my legs to reach the pedals. But oh, how easily the key slips into the ignition, and how the rumble feels beneath my thighs. How small the whole world looks from this high up. I hit the road and smirk. A girl like me could lose herself in this, the roaring and the scent of gasoline, the childhood memories it conjures up. And suddenly I'm in my father's truck, sitting shotgun as he gazes off into the distance as a white cross dangles from the rearview mirror, guiding him and countless other men with furrowed brows, rough hands, and somber scowls on their faces as they navigate the roads of life from high above the road, the world beneath their tires. How irresistible this feeling, becoming one with metal, muscle, fuel. The tank is full of privilege and I haul ass. On the highway now, I take up space. I merge and smaller cars swerve out my way like I'm a beast. The whole world smells of me and my exhaust, and I punch it, blowing smoke into the open sky that I believe the Lord created just for men like me. I actually like driving trucks. I mean, the bigger the better, but I own a, if you've ever seen me with my little car, it's an itty bitty Kia, but it sure is nice sometimes to climb up into a big old truck. This next poem is written in response to January 6th of 2021. It's called The Infestation. It's It's like the time I tried to make believe that termites weren't a problem in my yard. It started with a couple bugs devouring a rotting stump, and I figured, what's the harm? A couple termites doing what they do. So much trouble to remove it anyway, like pulling teeth out of a liar's mouth. Just let them eat in darkness, far away from me. But termites spread, and soon, unseen, they started feasting on the wooden fence. I said I didn't know, but there were signs. Crumbling bits of wood, a trail of dirt that marked their spread, a mound arisen from the ground. But in my living room, I could forget about it and convince myself it wasn't really happening. That is, until those alabaster lies, I mean those termites, went alate and swarmed in the middle of the afternoon, flying in the sunlight now to breach the sanctum of my home, to burrow deep into the heartwood and consume the beams. Now they were in the living room, the kitchen, in the attic, munching on the rafters, in my bedroom, spreading like a virus, chewing hollow everything that's hollowed. Oh, please, I begged the exterminator, tell me you can stop this infestation, and tell me that there's hope for this old house. Tell me you can purge these lies, I mean these flies, from the foundation of our country. And he smiled as if to save me from the truth. Ma'am, if only you had called me sooner. This last poem is a little different. It's called Why I Never Mow My Lawn. I often write poems about flowers, so this is one of my flower poems, but maybe it's a little bit of a naughtier flower poem than usual. So, Why I Never Mow My Lawn. As far as all our neighbors are concerned, there's nothing worse than love grass taking over the yard, or blades of witchgrass flourishing, showing her bare seeds to the cul-de-sac. Oh dear, the chickweeds with their alabaster petals are about to bloom. The foxtails curl and flop. A patch of clovers whiten. Stinkgrass spreads without a lick of shame. Sunflowers open up their golden petals like a robe for all the street to see, the ochre button that invites the bees to come and touch the center of themselves. Each spring, I love the saturnalia of weeds, the scattering of smut grass, sandburrs gently prickling my tender skin, the morning glories pink and filled with glory. The HOA has other plans and issues a citation. Mow it down or else. I'll take the ticket, thank you very much, and wade into my sea of towering grasses to feel their tickle on my naked legs. Thank you. One last little plug. I had a book just come out. It's called Prairie Madness. It was published by North Dakota State University Press. These are my pandemic poems I wrote in isolation. It's kind of a nod to what the pioneer women in Nebraska were feeling during their isolation in the 1800s. So there was an affliction called Prairie Madness, and so I thought, well, that was kind of similar to what perhaps we were experiencing during the pandemic. There's real flowers pasted to the front. This book was entirely handmade by the students at North Dakota State University and using antique letterpress material, so it's a little extra special. And you can get them on Amazon and the North Dakota State University Press website. So Prairie Madness. All right, thanks everyone.